this is cool because there, yeah. So you look great. So you can kind of see yourself a little bit. Yep. As long as you're not, you're probably.
I'm gonna move my chair.
Do me a favor. Let's go ahead and do both positions real quick.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, you look great, and you can kind of see yourself.
Yeah, I like
great.
that. Mm-hmm. That's
and,
kick-ass.
And then
right,
and then stand back up again. We'll just check that one again.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Put that right there, and then I come right here.
Yeah, you look great. Yeah, it's perfect.
All right.
So
Great.
yeah,
Perfectio.
Forget about it, brother. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we're good.
And the sound on the mic's coming over okay.
All right, we're good. I will start the T6, and we're good to go.
All right, man.
All right, here we go. It's rolling.
Welcome to part 2, and on this part you want to talk about blood, the detail of that ritual. Or
Yeah, the blood sacrifice ritual. So anyway, I made the deal with Enrique Berdone, and it was a amount of money that it's I guess it's maybe a large amount of money, but it was, of course, we were already prepared to do this, and it was within the budget, and so of course we immediately agreed. And his henchmen came, and of course I left the money in the hotel with my man, right? I didn't take the money with me, and so because we had not agreed on the amount of money yet. That's why. Okay, so anyway, we went up there to Monkey Mountain and met this beautiful sorceress Yane. They have advised me that they were going to have to go get the clairvoyant girl, the 16-year-old clairvoyant girl who's going to be involved in the ritual. She was from a nearby village, and so they just made me comfortable with some lemonade or something like this, and we waited, and then while we were still waiting, I waited for about 20 minutes. And then Enrique came and he brought me a black robe. Okay, this black robe is basically just like the one that I use here in the United States. And I had my black robe with me, which is a black robe that I personally made with a sewing machine. But it was back at the hotel. I didn't know we were going to do the ritual that night, but I wanted to do it on the autumnal equinox.
What is the significance of the black robe?
Well, I think you've asked me. You've asked me that before, and the truth is, I really don't know. But the thing is, black. It's a color of mystery, right? It's it's something that's going on in the darkness. So maybe it's something for the initiated, But at the same time, in many of these rituals that I'm in, there are, depending on what the ritual is, people with white robes. So yeah, there's a lot of symbology, and and
then there's the purple robes that's
violet. Purple. It's a royal color. But when we think of black and we think of white, of course we think of these Masonic ideas. This black and white checkerboard, the game of whatever duality, right? Black and white. So, and we see so much of that thrust upon us in the media and everything. It's like the whole world has to be black and white. You have to agree or you have to disagree. You have to get engaged with this. It's our narrative. We don't care if you hate it or if you love it. We just want you to be engaged. And so that's a very profound idea.
So go ahead with what happened.
Okay, so here's the deal. Enrique came and he said, okay, the time was ready. All right, then he gave me that black robe. And so I put on the black robe. He was wearing his regular clothes with what he was wearing when I met with him. It's this Wero shirt, and his sunglasses and his pants and everything like this. And the henchman stayed out there, and we advanced, and we came out of his office, still in the compound. And then we went over here to where the pentagram was. And the pentagram.
Can you explain the significance of this pentagram? It's in everything. What's the significance of this thing?
Well, first of all, a pentagram is a symbol of a man. You've got the man, humankind, womankind. The arms and the legs, and then the head coming up like that. So it's a symbol of a man for one thing. It's also got the number 5 associated with it. And for the 5 points of it, interestingly enough, Jack Parsons, who created the modern solid fuel rocket booster, has a cavity in it that's an exact pentagram. So we see that this pentagram is more than an idea. It's something that in physical reality, it's somehow one of these shapes that reality is built on. Much like these platonic solids I was talking about earlier. So anyway, in the photographs by Gerald O. Long, I don't know what this is they have. That's a pentagram. I mean, it's up in the air. I mean, it's 2 or 3 stories tall, but it's a complete pentagram and it's on fire. The pentagram I went into was like burned in the ground, or maybe tar or something like this. But we stood outside of the pentagram, but you can easily see the pentagram. And in the middle of the pentagram was a flaming cauldron, 3 or 4, 3.5 feet above the ground, with a big brazier, a big metal pit with all these logs in it, just blowing up fire, And so we stood outside of the pentagram, and he said, do not step on the lines of the pentagram. And so we each took one step and got inside the pentagram. Then he started telling me a bunch of stuff. Not all of it did I understand, because he speaks Spanish, but he actually translated very good. But I've been involved in the occult for a lifetime. So these ideas and concepts he's telling are very familiar to me. We do our widdershins. We do our counterclockwise movement. And we are praying to the east and to the north and to the south and to the west. And he instructs me to hold my hands out like this above the brazier to feel the power. Well, of course, you're feeling the power. You're not going to get too close to it. You goddamn burn your hands off. You know what I mean? Fire is something that is one of the spiritual element that is closest in its physical reality where we live to its spiritual component. Just throwing this in, the very next day on the white magic ritual, I had to apologize to the water for contaminating it. I had to apologize to the earth for contaminating it. I had to apologize to the air for contaminating it. And then when I was finished, I was like, okay, let's apologize to the fire. And he's like, homeboy, you ain't got to, apologize to the fire. You can't contaminate that, huh? What's up? You can't contaminate that fire. That's what they got the goddamn fire, huh? So anyway, we did these rituals, and I thought it was all very nice. I was like, well, yes, we've really done a good ritual and everything like this. And so then he instructs me that we're headed to the sacred underground cave. And I'm talking about a cave that is man-made. It's a cave, I guess he and the people made, but it has had a candle lighted in it for over 5 years. It's always had a candle continually lit into it. Okay, he said, we've already got this stuff ready. We've got the goat, we've got the girl, right? The goat and the girl. Okay, we're going underground. That's it. That's fucking it. All right. I said, okay, here's the deal. Let's do this shit. So anyway, we go over there into these, cobblestone steps. It's descending down into the earth. And so we start going down the steps, and there's candles on every step. So you can see where you're going down these steps. And then we're going down the steps, going down the steps, going down the steps. And then we turn to the left. And then you're looking out into the room. And it's got stone walls all around. It's got skulls. It's got all kinds of stuff. Anyway.
Are you talking human skulls?
No, just like skulls of animals and stuff like that. And different type of stuff, but you really don't see any of that stuff, because right off the bat, your entire attention is taken by this fucking statue that's like towards the back of the room. And I didn't know it was going to be this, and the goddamn statue of Lucifer, a 10-foot tall statue of Lucifer, the most beautiful statue you have ever seen. He's standing like this. He's standing like this. He's got the most masculine body imaginable, the body of like a bodybuilder, but it's like even almost like exaggerated. He's got a big smile on his face. He's got blank eyes. You can't see his eyes, and he's got these horns coming out of his head right here. Okay, and he's standing like this, and he's got an erection, as in a manly erection. In other words, with buttocks, slightly, clenched forward, with a type of male member that is, protruding out quite dramatically, along with
is this statue human looking? Is it the Baphomet or what? Or what? It is a man.
Oh no, it's not a Baphomet. It's a man. It's a man. It's a man. It's a man. But the man does have horns. It's a man. That's what he looks like, and he's red, and he's painted red. And I was like, what is this? And this is Lucifer. Okay, and so here's the deal. That's when I realized I was so captivated by that statue. It wasn't until we came closer into the room that I realized, oh my God, there's something at the base of the statue. And what I'm talking about is there was a totally nude, clairvoyant girl writhing in ecstasy, laying at the base of the statue of Lucifer with her eyes closed in a trance. This person was not an actor or an actress. This shit was 100% real. And Enrique started throwing the alcohol around. I don't know what kind of alcohol it is. It's rum alcohol, you know, or something like that. And then there's these, you know, this incense is just overpowering you with this, you know, this smell of incense. And, you know, and this girl is moaning, and she's moaning, oh, you can't read, you know, you don't understand Spanish anyway, so you really don't know what she's saying, you know, and everything like this. I mean, glistening sweat all over her, you know, nude body, and her pubis or whatever you want to call it was like shaved. In other words, so it's like, you know, and it's just a sweat, just sweating profusely, and there was the power, and I was already starting to feel the power. And then Enrique started slinging that alcohol right around. He's slinging it around the room. He's getting on everything. He was getting on me. And I said, what's up? I said, give me that motherfucker. You know, I held my hand out like that. And he gave me the goddamn bottle, you know. And I took the bottle. I gave it back to him. I mean, I don't know. That's part of the ritual of goddamn. You're slinging alcohol around the room. I'm going to fucking drink some. You know what I mean? And he goddamn the incense and everything. And this woman was just, and he encouraged me to go near the statue and to touch the statue. And so I went to the statue, and the statue was perfect. It was perfect down to the last detail. And he encouraged me to touch the statue. And so I was running my hands all over the statue, and it was a 10-foot tall statue of Lucifer, but he's on a pedestal. He's on a pedestal, this 10-foot tall statue of Lucifer. So anyway.
Continue. Got excited there.
I know it, Miles. I ripped that goddamn thing out of my head. Because this is kind of the weird deal about it, because he's telling you put your hands on this statue, and it's a statue of a naked man, right? And so you're like, you know, not gay or anything, but nothing wrong with that. But, you know, I'm just following the instructions of the sorcerer. So I'm running my hands all over this beautiful, like, masculine body. And even, but since it's on a 2-foot pedestal, I only come up to a certain height. And I'm hugging the statue and hugging its legs and stuff like that. And then I come around to the back and I'm hugging it there. And it's just like the butt or the anus or whatever of the statue of Lucifer happens to be like where your face is, you know what I mean? So that's, I don't know if that was calculated or what. So you're just, you know, basically like loving the statue, even, you know, touching the, you know, the genitals of the statue and everything like that. And shit is just getting heated up, man. I mean, it's just fucking, you start hearing this ringing in your ears, man. And that's when they fucking start to get you activated. And when you fucking start.
How do they get you activated? We're having a lot of breakup in a picture at the moment.
All of this stuff, everything's just coming together. What it is I was being pulled into a trance. Pulled into a trance with the visual aspects of the cave and the statue and Enrique Bordone explaining the things to me, and a 16-year-old totally nude girl in front of the altar writhing literally in ecstasy. I mean, she's fixing to come off this motherfucker. And I mean, this shit, I was getting in the trance too. And then I drank some more alcohol, and then Enrique, totally out of the blue, he said, Manifesto! Manifesto! And he was yelling at that statue. He was trying to tell it to manifest. I said, what the fuck is going on? I said, is this statue going to come to life or what? I mean, I don't know what the hell to expect. You know what I mean? And he's like, get her right here in front of the girl on this altar and everything. But he didn't tell me to. But I touched the girl. And I had my hands on her arm. And she was practically coming. He didn't tell me to touch her, but I put my hands on her arm, and she was practically coming off this motherfucker, man, in a goddamn sweat. I mean, the fucking sweat was just fucking coming off of me, and it was just fucking coming off of her, and it was just a lot of fucking sweat. And I was kneeled down there, holding on to the girl like that, and then I fell for one of the oldest tricks in the book. I was just sitting there just like totally in trance, and then bang! he fucking rang this huge fucking bell right in my ear, surreptitiously, where I didn't know it. And I was just like, ah, ah, it's like, it totally, it brings you out of your reverie. I was just, ah, and then before I could even calm down, I turned around and there was fucking Yane, the beautiful sorceress, dressed in a black robe, just like I was. I don't know how that bitch got down there. And she had on a fucking leash. She had a goat, a full-size goat. You understand me? And that was that's the goat. That's the goat. We had already been messing with the knife. Enrique had already run the knife over the girl's chest. And he looked at me to say, do you understand? You understand what I'm saying? In other words, I don't know what the next level is, you know what I'm saying? But he's rubbing this knife, a ceremonial dagger, over a human being's skin. And I looked at him, I said, yes. I said, yo entiendo. Yo entiendo. So it's not like he, has not warned me where this might go. But here's the deal. And so there's Yane, and there was the fucking goat right there. And that motherfucker goat, that goddamn goat, he was he was chewing the cud. Just sitting there like, looking like goats do. Real dumb, just chewing the cud. This goat that's been treated good his whole life, a goddamn ceremonial goat. But that's when it overcame me, that I realized that the responsibility that had been put on me, because goddamn, now it was time to do or die. You understand what I'm saying, huh? Goddamn, I didn't come halfway around the world, to look like a chicken in front of my new friends. You understand? And they didn't have to tell me where that knife was. It wasn't this knife right here, but it this one reminds me of it. But it was a ceremonial dagger. And goddamn, it was right over there by the girl, where I had been rubbing over that girl and everything like that. And that's when you know what you have to do. And let me tell you, I had a moment of weakness where I looked right there at the goat, and that goat, he just looked just like that. That goat, he didn't fucking see any of this shit coming. He didn't see none of this shit coming, all right? And I was even having a weak thought to myself thinking, hey, goddamn goat, that goat didn't do nothing wrong to me, huh? And so I had a moment of hesitation, but it was so short of a moment, because I would not have been, I would have been embarrassed in front of my new friends. And so I just walked over there to Yane, and she was just looking at me with these black eyes. She is so beautiful. Yane, dressed just like I was, in a black robe, just holding that deal. How the fuck they got there, I don't know. It doesn't even make sense that they could have even snuck up on me like that. You know what I mean? And then they ring the goddamn bell, and then all of a sudden the motherfuckers are there. What the fuck is going on? So anyway, I have that leash. And Yane looked at me, and she's so beautiful, but I just need to look at her, and I had a goddamn knife, and I just got that gun. I put that knife right there on that, stump and everything like that, and I got that motherfucking goat, and I got him right here, and goddamn, I just picked that motherfucker up, and I didn't slam him. I just, I put him down there, and then I grabbed him, and I started going after that motherfucker. I just started tearing that fucking bitch up, and the fucking blood was going everywhere, man, everywhere. Goddamn. And then motherfucker, and they think, those people, they're tearing out his heart and holding it above their head to where all this blood come out. So I think I'm going to do that. So I get the goddamn knife and I stick it up in there. But it's rib cage or something. I don't know the anatomy of a goat. I was like, fuck that shit, man. I just fucking threw that goddamn knife down, and I just picked that motherfucker up. His tongue was already sticking out of his head. He wasn't even, I just picked that motherfucker. I just slammed that motherfucker down on the ground, huh? I broke him. I broke that motherfucker. And then, so he was dead. And so then, I looked at Enrique, and he said, and he pointed up there as if, you go upstairs, you go over there with the henchman. And so I went up there, and I said, fuck that, I'm not going to do that. And I didn't go with the henchman. I just went out to the motherfucking jungle. And I was just, just going through the fucking bushes and being torn up by thorns and shit, you know, rocks and all this stuff. And then it was just like when I started realizing that I was in the jungle and then I was on the earth. And then I look up there in the sky and it was the moon. And I said, ah! And then I started getting, you know, thinking that I might get tired. And so I wanted to go back to the camp. But I said, no, I have to do this. And so I picked up a boulder. I kind of had to, like, you know, pull it out of the ground and stuff, you know. And I picked it up, and I mean, goddamn big boulder, man. It was about, I don't know, it's, you know, 50 or 60 pounds or some shit like that. I said, I'll take this boulder right here. And I'll take this motherfucking boulder. But then I was like, no, I can get one bigger. So fuck that, man. I threw it down on the ground, and I got this bigger boulder. And I got it up, and I picked it up like this. And then I was like, oh, fuck that, man. That motherfucking boulder's too heavy. So I threw that one down, and I got the first one. And I got that boulder, and I picked it up, and then I went back. And I went back to the compound. I was marching with my boulder. I was holding it here to the chest, and I could see my goddamn, you know, moon right there and everything. And then, boom, I came out of those bushes and all those briars and everything. I busted out in those compound, and I had that boulder above my head. I said, you see? You see? It's just like Cain and Abel. It's just like Cain and Abel in the Bible. And his henchmen didn't know what to do. But Enrique was standing in front of them. I came towards him, and he held his hand in front of his man like that. He's like, hold your ground. You hold your ground on this motherfucker. And that's what they did. They held your ground. And then so I turned around away from them, and I threw that boulder down on the ground so hard into the earth it made a thud. It went boom, and you could feel it. And then, goddamn, I turned around to them. And I said, you see? It's just like Cain and Abel. And so, I calmed down then, and they knew everything was okay, that I wasn't gonna like attack them with that boulder, and so they relaxed, and you could see a sigh of relief going off their chest and everything like that. So anyway, that's when Enrique approached me, and he instructed me, because I still had on my black robe. He pointed to these sinks over here and everything. He you know, showed me to go wash my robe in the sink. In other words, it's a part of the occult that you're supposed to clean your own house, you know, take care of your own business and stuff like this. And so I was to wash my own, you know, black robe. And so, of course, I took it off and I put it in the water. You know, I put it on some water and stuff like that. I mean, they got old ladies and stuff like that that take care of that shit around there. So, I mean, I just made a point to show that I was really, you know, doing the washing and doing the work and everything like this. You know, and then I just let it go down there. And then so I went over there back to Enrique and his men, and he gave me the final instructions for what we were going to do on the white magic ritual the next day. And I assured him that the film team would be there because I was going to be showing up alive. That would be worth a lot to them. And so that's exactly what happened. And his henchman, the one that they were all scared of, took me back to the hotel, and he was instructed to get the money from me. And so I went and I took him to Rick's room, and they stayed there and waited for me. And I went to my room, and I got $1,000, and I came back and I gave it, and I gave it to that man and got my final instructions. And then I went out on the town of Catemaco. The air smelled like electricity. I was so much blood already pumping it through my veins, and I got lost in the town. It's like every time I left my hotel, like seriously, usually like, okay, here I am, you know, north, south, east, west, you know, getting lost. I mean, so the whole town is like very weird. And I ended up running around different parts of the town, almost like a madman. I had washed up, and of course I still had blood on me. I mean, I wasn't just covered like with blood, but you know, people in this town, they know what happens in this town. Let me tell you, nobody would even look at me. There wasn't that many people out, but then I was ready to get home, and I tried to get a cab. There was no cab drivers would pick me up. No one would. Everyone ran away from me like I was the devil or something. But maybe maybe even been drinking more or something. You know, there's maybe scientific reasons for this. And I just kept getting lost. And then there was these dogs, and there was a bunch of kind of just weird stuff. But finally at the bus station, I convinced this guy, because see, I was like, it came to a point where I was like holding out money, which would be a lot of money in Mexico for anyone, a cab driver, anyone, to give me a ride home. And you see, this is the amount of money. I mean, I don't know how much it would be in American, probably less than $100, right? But over there, I mean, goddamn, that's a month's wages and everything like that. But you got a man, covered with blood over here holding out money, trying to give you a ride, get a ride. It's something you might want to think about, huh?
Yeah, it's mildly disconcerting. Yeah,
exactly. So that's kind of how it went down. But anyway, finally I convinced this guy that I wasn't going to, kill everybody. And he called this other guy and he gave me a ride home back to the hotel. And so after that point, I wasn't eating any meat. And the very next morning at 10 a.m. in the morning, the henchman came and Enrique and Yane, and what he did is he put Yane in our vehicle. In other words, so that we wouldn't get lost. He put the beautiful sorceress in the vehicle with me and Rick, and we went to the flower market first. We got stuff we wanted. She went to the flower stuff to get all these flowers and stuff, and then we went to the Laguna Catamaco. And you remember Laguna Catamaco and the town of Catamaco is a resort town for well-to-do Mexican people. In other words, if you live in the United States and you might like to go visit Aspen or something like this, down there you might like to go visit, Catamaco. And having nothing to do with any sorcery or occultism or anything like that. But at the same time, they know that, I don't know how the people down there discern this in their mind, but we had a boat captain. They had the old man with them too, the mysterious old man, but the boat captain was implicit that he did not want us to take the serial numbers of, film him really, or film the. And so we went and they put me in the water. And these are all the pictures that you've got of the, the rituals of me and Enrique, being in the volcanic lake and everything like this.
So ultimately, what did you, what was the purpose of this ritual? What happened? Can you recall what you went through inside? There
was a purpose and there was an intention that I went down there with. Yeah. And that's something that I will give you a hint about, but I will not tell you what it is because I don't want to take the magic off of it or nothing like that. But somebody before they died, somebody I know and that I'm related to, warned me before they died that there was a man that's out to get me. And so the thing is, we're neutralizing these things, and here very soon there's going to be one less piece of shit in this world. That's all I got to say about that, Miles.
So there's a guy who got a contract or something, or just what's only say what you want to say.
Way worse than that. It's just a man that's got a burning desire. A man whose contracts are nothing. A very incredibly rich man wants nothing more than to destroy me. And I was warned by my father, and I'm sure that my father was afraid that I would be powerless to stop this thing. And the truth is, I'm not. I'm working with energies, and whatever I was born to do is something that is happening right now. And it's hard to take it all in and understand exactly what's going on with me, but it's part of a larger, scenario.
Were you in some way requesting the help of that being that was symbolized in that?
In every way. It's just like in the days of the Greek and wars and all this stuff. These people crying out to their pagan gods to be saved, to cast their enemies down, fucking ruin those motherfuckers. You know what I mean? And a goddamn, you're either if my mission means anything, then they're not going to let the motherfuckers stop me. And motherfuckers aren't going to be able to. I'm not saying they can't stop me. I'm saying they won't, because it's somehow not being allowed.
Are there areas that you want to talk about but don't wish to because it's not something you want to have public or
well, no, I'm not saying too much about this person and everything, but I can tell you I've had we in our conspiracy genre, we look at all these things and we look at these bad the banksters or the Republicans or the Democrats, all these things, and then we start looking at the aliens and we say, oh my gosh, this non-human intelligence and everything, and then we start realizing, oh my gosh, there's almost like some type of matrix like aspect to this entire thing. And so it's like what if this matrix-like aspect is a machine? What if this machine is broken? What if we are seeing is fight for control of a broken machine? And what if there's a machine above that? You know, in other words, it gets into some very hard things to understand. But I've been following your program for years, and we've seen the anomaly or the phenomenon of the so-called, and of course, you know, I agree with what many people, including yourself, have said, that it's a terrible name to give it, but this whole idea of the super soldier, you know, concept. And, you know, I know nothing about that. I'm just someone who watches the videos just like everyone else. But I've had ideas in my head since I was a child that cannot be accounted for by a child's imagination or anything like this. And I've never, for one doubt in my entire life, doubted for one moment that I'm going to be a world leader. And there's been other stages of my life, 4 stages of my life, and I've already been through 2 of them, and they've all gone down almost exactly like I thought from when I was a very small child. It never, you know, and I've even as a small child and going to these private schools and stuff, the other children liked me, but there was things that I said, but by vocalizing my thoughts that made the other children not like me or made them afraid of me. And so I realized from an incredibly young age that I more or less had to kind of like dumb myself down to where the children would like me, because I'm different from the other children. And that's true. And that is still true to today. And I am not a super soldier, but there are some very unusual things about me. And first of all, I've my entire life been very undiplomatic. But through a number of things, being in business, being successful in business over the last 8 years and different things like that, I've become more diplomatic, but even more so in the last couple of years. And then with this big transition I've had, you know, but I've got like fail safe. I'm extremely hard to kill. I've been in so many situations being beat by so many people and fighting and shooting and killing and stabbing and running over and hitting and stuff like this, and then being in prison for years, a percentage of my life, fighting for my life and fighting for my pride every motherfucking day, huh? I mean, I'm as fucking hard as they come. I mean, that's it. I don't know what the reason is for that, but I think it has to do with maybe some type of survival programming or something like that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's survival. Yeah, but survival, exactly. Why? So, I mean, why do you need to survive?
Because I'm not a super soldier. I'm a super diplomat. Yeah. Somehow that's what it is. It's somehow, you know, there's, you know, maybe expendable, but I mean, I'm not going in there to, you know, assassinate people and do all this super soldier stuff. Somehow I can negotiate. I've already been going into boardrooms for years. I mean, look at me. I go into boardrooms, brother, and I fucking kill it. I never come out without the check. And we're talking about big companies. And there's rational ways to explain this. In other words, I've been in a niche industry where I had, you know, security cameras, where I had all the information and they had no information. It's very, you know, a lot of these things can be looked at logically, but it has given me the experience to get in there and go with CEOs and stuff like that, running in you know, the U.S. Department of Labor, the Mexican government, you know, Starbucks, Subway, you know what I mean? Governments and corporations and stuff like that. I know how to talk to these motherfuckers. You know, I grew up around these type of people. I'm a pharaonic dominator. I know how to talk to these motherfuckers.
Do you have any names of companies that you would have gone on to, I mean, that's just for the point of view of research, you know, yeah. People, are there any names that you would be able to say which you went in
well, let me tell you. No, I can, to give you my bona fides of, that's very easy to do because it's all a matter of public record for the U.S. Department.
Exactly.
For the U.S. Department of Labor, I did their entire security camera system for one of their Gary Job Corps deals. And this is where they have these youth that have been, somehow abandoned in life, or their parents have not been adequate. And so they're taken into a thing where they get these training for these trades that are real good, you know, like to become an electrician and all this stuff. But of course, a lot of these kids come from broken homes, and a big percentage of them are black and stuff like this. And so they, have to, the men that run this thing are all black. They're all Masonic. They are all powerful, and they bring in these men that are very wise, that are like giants of men and big. I'm not going to name any names, but I have a lot of respect for these guys to keep these kids, you know, in line and stuff. So I was just in charge of putting in the security camera system and all the wireless aspects, and there was a lot of challenges with that. Now, fast forward to the Mexican consulate in Austin, Texas, about 5 or 6 years ago. A homeless man who was also supposedly a white separatist shot up the Mexican consulate with an AK-47. I was brought in to consult on that. The reason is that I'm not in the CIA. You know, I'm not, a lot of these people in my industry and stuff like that are ex-cop, FBI and all that shit. Mexican government ain't trying to deal with all that. Even the U.S. government ain't trying to deal with that. You know, they want somebody who's an independent operator, you know. And so I became an expert in something that the security camera technology evolved so much over the last 7 or 8 years. It's almost like unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so I was in the right place at the right time. Yeah. Resolution. That's I mean, you're a camera guy. You know what the deal is.
You can frequently get a picture of the guy doing it, but you don't know what the face looks like.
Right. Exactly. It's just like an amorphous blob. You can't even tell what race this person is. And then you know, a few years later, we're able to read, you know, license plates from a distance. It's amazing, you know. So, and I know that y'all have a lot of security cameras out there in England, although when there was a big controversy that a lot of them were actually analog. You know, I'm sure they're probably changing those all over.
Well, a lot of them,
My marketing team told me not to comment on this or ask your opinion on this, because I think that this may hit too hard from home. But, you know, we get all kinds of fake news over here. And I don't own a TV, but apparently there's been some problems in Manchester recently.
Yeah, there has been a dreadful.
I'm sorry to hear about that.
Dreadful. We're talking here. We're talking here on the 27th of May. So, from a context point of view, about 36 hours ago, there was a dreadful explosion at a lot of young kids, and were taken out.
My hearts and prayers goes out to the families over there.
There are 322s. So there's. And the guy was known by MI5, and he was trained by MI5 in Libya, I think it was. And it could be.
Well, we see this too all too often, unfortunately. Was anyone that you know or friends of your family hurt in the attack?
No. I have been to Manchester, but it was at the end of the conference, fortunately. So it was as people were leaving. And so I think there could have been a lot more if the guy had gone in and in one.
Well, thank God for that.
You know, so those things happen, and they're shocking. It's a case of why and who, and really why and who.
As much as the threat is in the United States with Jade Helm and all this other stuff, a lot of it just seems to be just that threat. But I know over there where y'all live, it's kind of it's easier to kind of like do experiments and stuff on a smaller population of people. When I did come back from Peru, I did find it fascinating that all of their facilities, even though their international airport in Lima, Peru, and everything like this was nice and stuff like that, but it was nothing compared to our American airports. And then we even thought that the girl who was, you know, rating on us at the restaurant coming back from Peru, we were like, my one, you know, companion, Denny, you know, who he was like sure that this girl was like snorting cocaine or something. Like, we give a fuck anyway. They snort a lot of cocaine over there. But and then we're coming back from the United States, and everything's all nice and opulent. You have all these nice stores, but there's a voice coming in on the radio. If you do this and that, you will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. You know, so it's like here in the United States, that's if I want to tell anyone, you know, from abroad what it's like, yeah, you got all the nicest stuff, the nicest homes, the nicest cars, the nicest everything, and this nice, pleasant lady's voice telling you all the time in many different multitude of ways, you know, if you do this, if you do that, you will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. You know what I mean? It's just this like fear factor thing.
Yeah, it's a domination control thing, and it takes the niceness out of that beautiful environment.
It really is.
But they're protecting you by all means. I think they were
I mean, it's laughable. You know, and we're all sick of the domination and control system that we grew up in. And now that's why I've been involved with the consciousness community. But it is weird that what's going on with me. I'm putting on more weight. The gym that I'm working out at, which actually has a bunch of all the special forces guys in Austin work out there, and I just found that out after. I'm not a member of the gym. It's just my personal trainer. She takes me to these different gyms. They have to take me to gyms where I'm alone during the day because I yell so loud that the entire building shakes, reverberates. And so,
is that part of the energy that you do, like when tennis players hit the ball? Is that part of a release, or is there any reason for that?
Well, I don't know. I've been doing that all of last year but then I took a 6 months break, but then I came back this year, and I don't want to say too much or be too crass about it, but I have mentioned that I put on like at least 10 pounds in the last 15 days. And so obviously I'm seeing a doctor, and my therapist is a light worker herself and can move energy, is definitely wanting me to, quit doing that or whatever. But I'm talking about, dude, there's power coming off this motherfucking body right here. And I don't know that might have not even had something to do with this, Kundalini awakening, although we wouldn't think, oh, that's not natural, organic, but whatever it is, it's real.
I mean, when you say you put on 10 pounds, is that muscle or are you just bulking out or what?
Yeah, I'm hulking out. It's been my shoulders. It's mostly my shoulders and my chest, but we're now, working on other areas of my body and stuff like that, and my core. And this lady who's working me out is a very special person who's a ex-champion bodybuilder, and this is for my new show, which basically you are the star of the first episode of my show, You Don't Know, which is my new YouTube channel.
I mean, you're not doing this with steroids. I mean, it's not going to harm your heart or anything like that. Hello?
Miles, there's, I'm under the care of a doctor.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean? At a man my age, it's even, my trainer is not involved in this at all, but she even said, there's certain things that are not unreasonable for a man my age. They have these, low T clinics and stuff like that. And I do not have low T, but I will tell you that I've been, and having to do with this, I've been somehow sexually activated. And so I've been going on more dates and seeking more companionship from ladies and stuff like this.
So what is the ultimate purpose of those rituals and processes? You are obviously got some kind of a goal that you're heading towards. You're training up. You're getting powerful.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you have to defend yourself because of an issue.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right.
So
yeah.
Where's all this headed? Where can we see this? And tell us some more about your show. This thing that you mentioned, your show.
Right. Yeah. Well, no, I love the world, and so I've always wanted to love the people. I just need to somehow love more people than your average person needs to love or connect with, and I hold people in high regard that are connecting with a lot of people. Different various people in the I'm not going to say the truth community, but the consciousness, people such as yourself, so to speak. So I really admire that. And with my show, I'm really in the conspiracy genre, but really what we're doing is Earth mysteries. It's not actually very controversial. We're talking about, we are kind of going against archaeologists and archaeology, because their job has been shirked by willingly learn these lies, that the cradle boarding and that these stones that are harder than bronze tools are somehow cut with bronze tools. I mean, that's fucking idiocy.
Yeah.
If you go to the college for a chemistry degree, at least they're going to be telling you some stuff that really works. But archaeology is one big lie, and so that's why it's left to men such as myself who are not within their scientific priesthood of lies.
Well, that's some people call science these days. They call it scientism. It's like a religion with its high priest. It's very interesting the way you said that.
Oh, I heard that term. I love that term. Was it somebody on the higher side chats that said that?
Yeah.
One of their guests. Yeah, I really resonated with that. Yeah, scientism. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. And, interestingly enough, this one guy, Josh Reeves, he has discovered about Rockwall, Texas. And this is the way I'm kind of present this, a lot of it. And we're actually trying to interview him for one of our episodes. But basically what it comes down to is Dallas, Texas is the oldest city in the world. Okay, Dallas, Texas is about 463,000 years old.
That's a hell of a long time for the Ewing family to be around.
It really is. Well, but of course, a lot of these were elongated skulls. So these elongated skulls are not human. They're not. They're just not. I've been right up there with them. I don't know what they are. I have no reason. I have no proof that they drove around.
The elongated skulls we're talking about once again, and we mentioned Maria Wheatley in the previous part, and a lot of the elongated ones that she's referring to, they're not necessarily tall. They just have a longer skull.
Yeah, right. Well, see, in Peru, they don't have the bodies. And what the excuse that they give us is that the skulls were considered sacred. So the bodies were buried separately. Well, show us the goddamn bodies, huh? I mean, what the fuck's going on? And I think that they might have been tall, but not giants. You know, one of the biggest things that I'm totally convinced of now is really possibly one of the most top secret things in the world is not, you know, the staged alien invasion or something like that. It's the existence of these giants. And we know that, you know, different religions and stuff have talked about giants, but we also know that credible historians from the year 465 in Rome, that there was an emperor named Maximus who was 8 foot 10 inches tall, ate 40 pounds of meat and 14 bottles of wine at each sitting. He wore his wife's bracelet on his pinky. And when he was just a rough shepherd boy, and when the Roman army was coming in there, he defeated the generals that was there. He out-wrestled 6 of his top men in a row, then outran his horses, his fastest horses, and then came and out-wrestled some other men. You know, he's legend to have crushed a boulder with his hand, you know, knocked a donkey out with one punch. But he became a leader, but he ultimately became a despot and became paranoid. And probably rightfully so, because what we're seeing is the slaughter of the giants, time after time after time.
Well, there's evidence of them in the Smithsonian, which they published books. Obviously, they didn't have iPhones in 18, whatever it is, but those books indicate that there were massive skeletons, huge peoples found in recent times. Only.
Oh, yes. And the Smithsonian always covers it up. And another interesting thing, you know, I've been talking about my great uncle, George Mahon, who was a congressional leader for 40 years. Well, after he retired, guess where he went? He became one of the board of directors of the Smithsonian. So it all comes together, doesn't it? It all makes sense.
But I mean, there's also a talk that something like 100 million people in the North American continent all died when the Spanish came. I mean, is it something like a huge?
They were rounded up. They were rounded up and slaughtered. Even the Indians will say that the giants were there before they were. But every giant, almost every Indian tribe has a story of the fight with the giants. And a lot of times these giants were on the run. But you can see how threatening the giants were. Especially, this is the most interesting thing, is that we're finding out over there in Europe, the Gauls, the Britons, the berserkers. Some of these have been or maybe commingled with these tribes, but these are actually the names of tribes of giants. And these motherfuckers, they came and they went against Rome, and Rome got their ass kicked, and then they came back. But these giants, the whole family goes to war. They're amazingly fast, amazingly strong, amazingly big, and the men do the war, but the women are just barbaric, and any man that runs from the front lines is killed by their own women. And at the end, when they were being overcome by the Romans, the women killed their own children and then killed themselves. I mean, these motherfuckers are intense. You know, and now we have these.
They're not here. They're not here anymore, from what we can gather.
Well, not unless they're in stasis. And these, I mean, what's up with all these stories of they finding these giants in stasis? And then in the Croatia, not giants, but they found these kings with all these jewelry and stuff. We're talking about underground pyramids that they've been letting tourists go in for 17 years. This isn't some made up shit, you know. And then we see that in Ukraine, the fight for the Ukraine, it's really a fight for this region where these Goths, these Gothic kings are from, you know. And but then they also found in another underground pyramid a little miniature being, you know, like about 18 inches tall with its own crown and all this shit. So I mean, it gets fucking weird.
We have a very interesting world we're living in.
We really do.
And that's where you're headed. Is that to make more of that available to people, or?
Yes, these are the things I want to talk and the ideas I want to put out there, and just to see who wants to listen, because the first step on fixing everything is just being educated, you know. And there's enough people out there talking about how they're poisoning us with fluoridated water, or how they're, you know, doing
water in plastic bottles is probably the biggest poison.
Oh, yeah. Well, let me tell you, Sevan Bomar is somebody I've been following, and he's so big on water, not only the purification of water, but adding these frequencies to water.
Yeah.
And we see this scientist, and I don't know his name right now, but he's an Asian man, and they think he's been assassinated. But he's the guy that put like through sound waves, put heavy metal rock going into ice cubes and put happy, soothing, and then baby and all this stuff. And it was real pleasing. It would make all these great, shapes. But if it was like real, heavy metal or something, it'd be all this, bad looking stuff. And he's no longer with us. And this is something that I'm really not going to harp on my channel, but that there's been over 70 doctors, 70 holistic doctors have been assassinated in the United States in the last 2 years. Okay. And it's because they have a cure for cancer and they have a cure for autism, and it's called GCMAF. It's the GC multiphage, which is a component that the human body produces naturally, and that's why there's no recorded cases of cancer that are over 100 years old. And this is also, but what kills the GC multiphage is the nagalase inhibitors. And they probably found this out by accident through industrialized farming, that it was somehow, some process was accidentally created. And I'm just speculating on this. This is all my own speculation. But now they're actually putting the nagalase inhibitors in vaccinations and in our food supply and everything like this.
Well, there is one of the basis lecturers, I think 2015, who found out that industrialized farming is deliberately there to actually slowly demineralize the food baskets of the world, and ultimately to take us all out, to starve us.
That's or maybe not even to starve us. What I think the game is more just to shorten the length of our life. You know what I mean? If you live to be 700 or 800 years old, you could really get a lot done. You know what I mean? And but yes, I agree with that. And it's interestingly enough, my connection to Lubbock, Texas, because we know a lot of this stuff has to do with the Industrial Revolution. Well, a lot of people don't realize is there's one machine that started the Industrial Revolution that led to everything else, the manufacture of automobile, planes, and in the world we know today. And that was the cotton gin.
Yes, yeah.
And Lubbock, Texas, where I'm from, which is on the 33rd parallel, along with the great, Pyramid of Giza in Dallas, Texas, all on the 33rd parallel, home of Buddy Holly and all this stuff. It's the cotton capital of the world. And even for decades, they've been sending our farmers all over the world, India, stuff like that, to teach people how to plant and harvest cotton. And we have the most advanced irrigation techniques because it's so dry in Lubbock, Texas.
I come from a linen family from Northern Ireland, and linen was our great family tradition. So that was, and then in Manchester and Lancashire, it was cotton. I'm sorry, I didn't know there was a difference. I thought linen was, what is linen made out of? Linen is made from flax, and it's also, I think, made from hemp. So, It's a much stronger thread, and linen sheets and stuff, linen suits, very cool in the summertime and stuff like that. But it's a heck of a material to make things from. Right. Well, over here they had, the reason they don't have or didn't have that for the longest is because of hemp, and the wanting to get rid of the marijuana, aspect. And we're told, that was, we were told, that is a much better material, even than cotton. But they didn't want to have that hemp going on. Yeah. So, we share a textile heritage. Yeah, that's fascinating, Miles. So you've had a very energetic hour here. Yeah, I really have. To get back, just to summarize it, you really wanted to get that passion across. You were sending a message out there to people and not messing about. But at the same time, you're moving into this sort of forbidden archaeology area. And certainly, I have been speaking to Gaia, certain elements of Gaia TV, and they are beginning to shoot series which would be in a more free domain, shall we just say, which would get away from the confines of the so-called ancient aliens stories. Yeah, that's a good move for them, and I'm so glad they're talking to you because your message is so important. You really have the most. Well, no, I'm not going to be an ancient aliens. This new series of Gaia TV. It's just that there are certain people I won't say who they've been shooting something for a new series, which gives them a wider brief than the confines of the so-called ancient aliens. Of course. Every program has a brief. It has what it's going to do. So I don't want to criticize anything. That's the way ancient aliens is.
Well, people are looking to you, Miles, as a leader in this community. I mean, you've been established in this community for, I don't know, 30 or 40 years. You know, I mean, even beginning with the pirate radio stuff,
Yeah.
and then going into the early, you know, UFO
Yeah,
stuff.
I had red hair before that. But it's and it used
There
to
you
be
go,
out of
there you go.
here, and God knows.
But were you a giant? Were you a red-haired giant?
Yeah, I was a red-haired fat bastard, really. But
Did you play soccer or anything like that?
I did rugby, and I got a few injuries in my back, so I'm not too. You begin to feel them at my advanced state of learning. I wouldn't call it age; I just call it an advanced state of learning.
There you go. Let me tell you, two things that I'm really pleased that you're doing is your workshops and your conferences, but also this new idea of the bases times.
Yeah, I'm talking to some people in the 21st Century Wire. I was at the Alternative View 8 conference, which is a very, very well put together conference by Ian Crane. It's much more geopolitical, and it's got a lot of very good people there. And the 21st Century Wire guys who are going out there, individual citizen journalism, and getting some good stories out there. I think we have to do this. I'm very keen to get the basis times ready, but only ready when it's ready, and not sort of go off at a half-baked sort of thing.
Well, you seem to be established well, of course, in the UK, but also in the United States, but also in Canada. But obviously, the future of the Basis Project is an international, the international consciousness.
Our next conference is in Dublin, and that's our next main conference in Dublin, because they really are waking up there, and some really woken up people there will be putting that on. And it's their own individual ground crew. I'm sort of giving them guidance. So, but that's another thing. As we close out in part 2, is there anything else you want to sort of finally say?
Well, I don't guess so. I just appreciate your listeners for tuning in and listening to my story. And I'll tell you, there's a lot more to come. I'm going to be out there, exposing the truth of these megalithic ruins. I'm also I've also done 4 investigations of Ghostlight Road, which is in East Texas, it's the glowing orb phenomenon. And I've got some footage already that is jaw-dropping, that is really, the marketing team has been scouring the internet. And I mean, my footage is by far the most intense. And I think I probably already sent it to you, but you may have not had time to look at it. But there are things that we'd consider like an alien in the inside of these motherfuckers with like wraparound sunglasses, but then they're moving inside of it, but there's one over here to the side, and it's got one of these like triangle heads or Maltese cross heads. Like it's stuff that I've seen pictures of artist renditions, and then I've got video of this shit. You know what I mean? And these things, what's going on? So it's definitely real, and it's more engaging than the Marfa lights.
I mean, have you heard of the Hestalin lights in Norway? And also here in Wiltshire, we have Golden Ball Hill near where some of the crop circles happen.
Okay, well, most of the things I've said are golden, or they turn colors from golden to white to orange and everything like this. But I am dedicated to becoming an expert of finding out what these things are. One of the most active, and no, I haven't heard of those, but what I found out is that, and sometimes they're called spook lights. There's a million different names for it. Fairy lights and all this stuff, but it's all seems to be the same thing. And let me tell you, Miles, they don't come from outer space. I have 1080p video footage of where they come from, and there's the different color ones going around in the trees and stuff like that, and the ones that play games with you, where you chase after it and it runs away. Then you run away from it and it chases you. And it's all this stuff. But I know where they're coming from because I have it on video. You can see it in the video, but you can't really, because I'm using 400 millimeter telephoto lens. And we've got a very bright light in extreme darkness. But I know where I had the camera pointed, and I had the camera pointed to the ground. And they're coming out of the ground. That's where they come from, the ground.
Well, certainly that sort of stuff is very, very interesting. And it's interesting that when some people dig up the ground, they're putting basements into London, and they dig a lot. They dig down deep because they can't go up, but they have to go down. And
right.
There's lots of orbs or whatever you want to call them there. They seem to be in the energy of the ground.
They really do. And, we came across some information that I cannot verify, and could have been somebody else's speculation, but the wild idea that at least not every Hilton hotel, but at least the certain Hilton hotels are all built on top of things where there's access to underground centers, and there's also
yeah, absolutely. That's been mentioned by one of other investigators. Absolutely.
And it just so happens that some of the meetings that I go to every year and stuff like that of a certain group, I'm not going to mention the name of them. It's always in a Hilton hotel, always. And I think it would never be anywhere but a Hilton hotel, and even the one here in Austin.
Yeah,
and my father's service. I mean, it's just a coincidence. Was in a Hilton hotel. I mean, so it's just weird.
Well, there's nothing like having secrets in plain sight. Well, we'll close out in part 2. It looks like part 3. We're already going to be talking about that pretty soon. We'll get this up as basis 16. And thank you very much. It's been a very entertaining and very deep, but also very spiritual thing for you. And thank you very much, sir, for putting that out.
Thank you, Miles. Thank you for the service that you're doing for humanity. We appreciate all the Basis Project listeners. Thank you.
Thank you, and good night on this second part. Bye.
All right.